over half the population has reported at least one adverse childhood experience. When you factor in accidents, systemic abuse, and natural disasters, it becomes clear that trauma is a widespread reality affecting millions of people well beyond the stereotypical image of the combat veteran. Despite how common these experiences are, our legacy institutions, like hospitals, schools, and social services, were built on a rigid, deficit-based diagnostic approach. This model centers on a single question: what is wrong with you? This traditional framework focuses on isolating problematic behaviors or treating specific symptoms. It ignores the human context, attempting to manage the individual rather than understand the origin of their distress. The critical failure here is unintended re-traumatization. For a survivor, harsh environments, coercive rules, and a lack of transparency mirror the conditions of their original trauma. The institution itself becomes a trigger, causing further harm in the name of care. These procedural models create a gap between institutional policy and actual clinical healing. They prioritize punishing symptoms of distress over resolving them. Trauma-informed care, or TIC, serves as a comprehensive structural solution designed to correct these systemic failures. The approach begins with a profound shift in perspective. It replaces that old diagnostic lens with a new foundational question: what happened to you? TIC functions as a system-wide organizational framework and cultural shift. It integrates an understanding of trauma into every level of service, from physical environments and high-level policies to everyday interactions with clients. By operating under the assumption that anyone could be a trauma survivor, institutions move toward a new primary goal: actively preventing harm and fostering an environment of psychological safety. To implement this, organizations use the 4 R's mental blueprint. First, realize trauma's widespread impact on long-term health. Second, recognize specific physical and emotional signs of distress in everyone. Third, respond by integrating this knowledge into daily protocols. Finally, resist re-traumatization by eliminating institutional triggers. These 4 R's change the internal logic of an organization, ensuring every interaction starts from a place of trauma awareness. Externally, the mission executes through 6 principles. Safety and trust prioritize everyone's physical and emotional security. A whole system approach ensures all staff acknowledge trauma. The system empowers survivors with autonomy to guide recovery and demands deep cultural awareness, integrating traditional Maori knowledge and Takonga. Applying these principles transforms real-world outcomes. It allows a teacher to de-escalate a student with compassion, or a doctor to adjust their treatment methods to reduce a patient's anxiety. A universal checklist is not enough. The Aotearoa New Zealand bicultural model shows that trauma-informed care must adapt to specific local and historical contexts to be effective. We have to recognize that trauma is often collective and historical. The lasting impacts of colonization are not just individual events. They are systemic pressures that affect communities across generations. Because trauma occurs within a context, healing must as well. This means integrating clinical care with local cultural ontologies, treating each person as a vital part of their wider family, tribe, and community. Trauma does not occur in isolation. True recovery is intrinsically linked to the cultural and historical identity of the survivor's community. When these principles take root, an organization evolves from a rigid, procedural facility into a compassionate, healing ecosystem. This entire architectural change is triggered by that simple shift in the lens, asking, "What happened to you?" instead of, "What is wrong with you?" Trauma-informed care proves that empathy can be institutionalized, creating a more resilient, safer system that benefits trauma survivors and the public alike.